Greetings, fellow Beyonders. I'm your humble host and scribe, Sven, and this is Beyond the Worlds Beyond. The primary purpose of this series will be exploring the lore and story within these campaigns. In this episode, we'll be looking at the 14th episode of The Wizard, the Witch, and the Wild One, titled There is an Ocean Vaster Than This One. We'll be doing a quick summary of the episode and then diving into the lore questions that it raises and those that it answers. We begin the episode, the finale of this chapter, with Suvi at the walls. Grabbing the Undre that had, for at least a moment, stopped strangling her, she jumps on her steed and begins drawing Arima's attention, and thus the green, from the wall towards the harbor. A stream of angry plant life tearing through a crack in the wall to give chase as Galani flies overhead to assist Suvi in her flight. While this is happening, the waters of the sea are crashing down and claiming the wizards who followed Moro into the depths. He, in turn, attempts to disintegrate Ursulon for his interference, but Naram counters the spell, allowing Ursulon to pin the Guildmage to the sea floor. Trapped in coral, the same state he had desired for Naram, he is given a minor mercy by the sea spirit, who grants him the ability to breathe beneath the waves. Meanwhile, in Suvi's ride, things have turned slightly as the Undre she was carrying unseats her from the horse and sends them both tumbling to the ground as the greenery surges around them. It is here that Suvi finally learns that her mother's amulet is what keeps Arima from seeing and hearing her. Pulling it off, she once more attempts to speak to the spirit, but Arima knows only fury and prepares to strike. Ame, having spent this time working with the townsfolk on an offering to try and appease the spirits and calm the people, realizes the danger her companion is in and attempts to command Arima to halt in her attack. This does succeed in stopping Arima from striking down Suvi, but only because it instead directs her ire at Ame's audacity to try and control her. A spear of venomous plants strikes out towards Ame, seeking to end her, but is intercepted by the arrival of Naram in his glamoured form, who takes the blow and poison, having experience with his wife's fury. Learning of the curse upon Ame, he encourages Ursulon to break it as, finally reunited, Arima draws him back into the spirit realm. Thus, the immediate danger to Port Talon passes, our trio are reunited, and the people of the city raise their voices in an old song. Later that day, finding joy in honor and honor in joy, Ursulon succeeds at breaking the curse upon Ame. Unfortunately, the curse is not without its own teeth, and while her mind holds strong and memories intact, her body falls short, and though the curse does not succeed at its fatal potential, she and the fox still fall into a coma. Suvi, investigating the bile left behind by the curse, detects a familiar scent, that of Yoren. Ursulon and Suvi care for Ame through the night until the arrival of Steel in the morning. After much chastisement, leading to eventual acceptance, she tells them that the Citadel will have the means of aiding Ame and offers Ursulon to accompany them there, which he accepts. Over the course of the few days it takes the airship to arrive at the outskirts of the Citadel, Suvi studies the notes and fragments of her parents that Moro had collected. Having already remembered a special shortened version of mending that her mother had made use of when she was a child, she makes a surprising and important discovery in her parents' work. In the teaching of the Citadel, it is believed that a specific gesture, the reflexive indicative, is necessary for all spell work. However, her parents' notes show that this is not the case. On that discovery, and on Steel taking her aside to discuss Yoren, we end the episode and this chapter of The Wizard, the Witch, and the Wild One. Before we start asking new questions, let's take a look at the ones we've asked before and see which, if any, we now have answers for. We did it, folks! We finally found out what was in the damn book, and it was well worth the wait. This is the first deep look into the Lingua Arcana that we've been given, and it already gives so much insight while causing so many more questions. It seems that the lingua has a great deal of musicality associated with it. Somatic gestures are referred to as notes, a nullifying mark is a null clef, and we had previously seen how guilds of mages are referred to as choruses. It does still bear ties to language and grammar, however, as demonstrated by the concept of a reflexive indicative. This, to me, is likely also the answer from all the way back in the prologues as to why Subi's parents were on the run. Finding these contractions within the lingua arcana, apparently allowing for shorter spell casting, is a very powerful discovery indeed. It also upsets the known facts about wizardly magic, so either attempting to keep this out of the wrong hands or fleeing from an establishment trying to uphold the status quo and stifle innovation, or both, would be cause to seek escape. Which, of course, brings us to Yoren and pondering his relation to the curse. The obvious answer would be if he was responsible for it. Either he betrayed Subi's parents, leading to their fate, or he is so protective of their secret that he would ensorcel those who go seeking after them. There is also a darker possibility, though, in the fact that we've already seen magic crafted from blood and essence. True, Yoren is not a spirit, but his magic and that of Galtmai seem more internal than most, and may still be possible to draw upon, in which case he is simply another victim in the curse scenario, his blood having been used as a key component in it. Which then leads us back to discussing Steele, as this episode ends with her finally going to discuss Subi's parents' fate and Yoren with her. In a scenario where Yoren is responsible for the curse, this will likely just be illuminating. In a scenario where he is the victim, that then leaves Steele as the likely perpetrator. As much as I love her character, I still just can't shake my suspicions of her. In this episode, she presents that the curse, the King of Night, and Yoren are all connected, but previously her reasoning in trying to make them delay in breaking the curse until they reached the Citadel was claiming that it was the only way to discover who was the culprit. So now she seems to be contradicting that reasoning, implying she always knew of the source, while still luring them to the Citadel with promises of aid for Ame. Of course, I also don't put a everyone's the baddie story past Brennan, and it may be that both Steele and Yoren were going to be villains just on different sides of the story. Finally, I must ask whether there will be any long-term consequences to Subi finally removing her amulet. She does eventually re-don it, of course, but there was a fairly long period where she was no longer under its protection. If the amulet's protection against detection was not just a happy coincidence, but an intentional guard upon her by her mother, will this have alerted whoever or whatever she was being hidden from? She left Port Talon not long after, sure, but her destination is well known, so anyone or anything now pursuing her would have an easy trail to follow. That's all for this installment of Beyond the Worlds Beyond. As always, please feel free to throw your own questions and theories in the comments, as I love hearing what others latched onto. Also, please consider liking and subscribing if you have not already. If you want more Worlds Beyond Number content, you can also visit my Patreon, linked below, to find my appendix and timeline projects, all of which are free and publicly available. I've been your host, Sven, and thank you very much for listening. Farewell, for now, fellow Beyonders.